Hello everyone, welcome to a module in the renal system. In this module, we will talk about one of the most and highly tested aspects of renal pathology, that is acute kidney injury or acute renal disease or acute renal failure. We'll talk about the basic concepts of pre-renal, intrarenal and post-renal azotemia. We will also cover acute tubular necrosis and acute interstitial nephritis. Okay, so let us start with the first and the basics of pre-renal, intrinsic renal and post-renal azotemia. Okay, the primary, what is azotemia? Azotemia is decrease in the urine output and increase in the BUN and creatinine. BUN and creatinine. Okay, now what is BUN? It is the blood urea nitrogen. Okay, hence acute kidney injury is always presented with oliguria and increase in the BUN, that is azotemia. Okay, talking about pre-renal azotemia. Now what is the causes of pre-renal azotemia? It is primarily caused due to decrease in the renal blood flow. It is caused due to decrease in the renal blood flow. Okay, now how can the blood flowing to the kidney be decreased? It can be decreased in multiple ways, like hypovolemia, in which the body has decreased amount of body fluid circulating. It can occur due to decrease in the cardiac output when the function of the heart is deteriorated, and it can also be decreased by decreasing in the effective circulating volume due to heart failure or liver failure. Okay, so when there is a decrease in the renal blood perfusion, it can lead to pre-renal azotemia. What is the pathophysiology of it? Due to decrease in the renal blood flow, there can be a decrease in the glomerular filtration rate, correct? And hence there is an increase in the sodium absorption, which relates to absorption of water and urea. Is it clear? Now, since the tubular functions of the kidney remains intact and hence the urine osmolality is always greater than 500. Okay, the urine concentration of sodium is also less because there is a no decrease in the reabsorption of the sodium. Since the tubular functions remains normal, the reabsorption of sodium is normal and hence the secreted amount of sodium is less than 20. The fractional excretion of sodium, that is the sodium filtrate upon sodium excreted, is less than 1%. Okay, so the fractional excretion of sodium is less than 1%. Now, due to increased amount of reabsorption, the BUN to creatinine value is greater than 20. Okay, now since there is excessive amount of reabsorption, it can lead to reabsorption of BUN, and hence the ratio of BUN to creatinine is greater than 20, which is more than normal. Okay, now this is the basics of pre-renal azotemia. Now let us talk about intrinsic renal failure. This is the most common cause of acute renal injury. Okay, now it is caused majorly due to tubular or interstitial damage. When there is an tubular damage, that is acute tubular necrosis caused due to either a nephrotoxic agent or caused due to ischemia, it can lead to intrinsic renal failure. Okay, there can be damage to interstitium as well. Now, how does the interstitium of the kidney get damaged? It is damaged due to acute interstitial nephritis, which is a hapten induced damage to the interstitium of the kidney, correct? It can be also, the acute renal failure can also be caused due to acute glomerular nephritis, which is caused due to a damage to the glomerulus. It can be caused due to damage to a vascular system in vasculitis, malignant hypertension and thrombocytopenic purpura with hemolytic uremic syndrome. Okay, so I'll cover this part in hematology module. Now, what is the pathophysiology? In acute tubular necrosis, there is necrosis of the tubular system, which leads to formation of patchy necrosis and debris. Okay, Now, due to this collection of debris, it can lead to obstruction of the tubules and hence cause a vesicoureteral backflow or the fluid backflow. Correct. Now, due to this, the obstruction, there can be a decrease in the glomerular filtration rate, and hence multiple parts of the nephron are damaged due to acute tubular necrosis. Now, the most and the important part is there is presence of epithelial or granular cast. I'll come to it when I explain acute tubular necrosis in depth. Now, let us just talk about the multiple values, that is the urine osmolality value. Now, since a lot of substances are not being able to reabsorb by the kidney, the amount of substances present in the urine during intrinsic renal failure is very high, which leads to a decrease in the urine osmolality. Is it clear? There is a decrease in the urine osmolality. The urine sodium level is very high because sodium reabsorption is impaired, and similarly the fractional excretion of sodium is also very high, that is greater than 2% due to excretion of sodium as compared to its filtration. Is it clear? The excretion of sodium is increased due to as compared to the filtration, and hence FeNA goes more than 2%. Now, talking about the serum BUN or the creatinine value, since the reabsorption of BUN is decreased and hence the ratio in the serum of BUN to creatinine is also decreased. Is it clear? Now, let us talk about the postrenal azotemia. It is caused majorly due to an obstruction in the nephron after the nephron, and hence it is primarily caused due to obstruction due to stones or benign prostatic hyperplasia or due to neoplasms or congenital anomalies. Is it clear? It is a outflow obstruction which is usually bilateral. Now, due to decrease in the reabsorption in the later stages of the postrenal azotemia, it can lead to the urine osmolality less than 350 milliosmol per kg. Okay, whereas these three factors varies on the stage of postrenal azotemia. Is it clear? Now let us go to something called as acute tubular necrosis. We talked about acute tubular necrosis over here, right? It is one of the causes for intrinsic renal failure. So what is basically acute tubular necrosis? It is the most common cause of acute kidney injury in the hospitalized patients. So, if there is a case of hospitalized patient showing acute kidney injury, it can be acute tubular necrosis. It spontaneously resolves in a lot of cases, but can be fatal, especially during the initial oliguric stage. When there is a decreased urine output, it can be fatal. There is an increase in the FeNA, that is the fractional excretion of the sodium, that is the hallmark of acute tubular necrosis. It is basically presented in three stages. The first is the inciting stage, in which there is a increase in the FeNA and decrease in urine output. The urine output decreases. The second phase, this is the most fatal phase. Okay. The second phase is the maintenance phase. In the maintenance phase, there is less amount of urine produced and it lasts for 1 to 3 weeks. This is very important. It lasts for a certain amount of period, that is 1 to 3 weeks. There is an increased risk of hyperkalemia, metabolic acidosis and uremia. Now, why is it caused? Hyperkalemia, metabolic acidosis and uremia is basically caused due to decrease in the reabsorption. Okay. Now, since there are tubular damage and that is necrosis of the tubules, it leads to decrease in reabsorption and the potassium is not being able to excrete out, and hence it leads to hyperkalemia. Due to hyperkalemia, there is metabolic acidosis. The last phase is the recovery phase. Now, what happens during the recovery phase is the urine output increases, that is polyuric. The BUN and the creatinine level still is low. Okay, there is a risk of hypokalemia, that is decrease in the potassium levels. Due to excessive maintenance phase, there is risk of hypokalemia, and there is renal wasting of other electrolytes and minerals. Due to increased polyuric condition, that is increase in the excretion of the potassium, it leads to wasting of a lot of electrolytes and minerals. So acute tubular necrosis basically occurs in 3 stages. Okay, these 3 stages are really very important. I hope everyone is clear. Now let us talk about the major causes of acute tubular necrosis. The major causes of acute tubular necrosis can be either ischemic or it can be nephrotoxic. It can be either ischemic or it can be either nephrotoxic. Now, the ischemic injury is usually secondary to the renal blood flow, that is decrease in the renal blood flow. Now, what happens is, since the renal blood flow is decreased, it can lead to ischemia. The renal blood flow decreases due to various causes that we have already discussed. Okay, this decrease in the renal blood flow results in death of the tubular cells. We know that ischemia leads to necrosis. Okay, now since there is ischemia, it can lead to death of the tubular cells, and hence there can be decrease in the amount of reabsorption. Is this part clear? Now, I'd like to add one more point to this. Since there is ischemia, okay, it can lead to vasoconstriction, which leads to further decrease in GFR. Okay, this is just an extra add-on point for the further questions. Now, let us talk about nephrotoxic causes. Now, what are the basic nephrotoxic causes? It is due to the different toxic substances which leads to acute tubular necrosis, and these substances are aminoglycosides, radiocontrast agents, lead, cisplatin and ethylene glycol. These are the basic toxic substances which leads to nephrotoxic injury. Nephrotoxic injury can also be occurred due to crush injury, that is in myoglobinuria, hemoglobinuria, or the proximal tubules are particularly susceptible to these injury. Is it clear? The nephrotoxic injury usually occurs in the proximal tubule. After acute tubular necrosis, let us talk about acute interstitial nephritis, which is also called as tubulointerstitial nephritis. Okay, it is an acute interstitial renal inflammation presented with pyuria. That means it classically has eosinophils in the urine, and there is azotemia. It is basically caused due to haptens which elicit a hypersensitivity reaction. Now, what are basically haptens? These are drugs that leads to an immune response. Okay, the drugs that can cause acute interstitial nephritis are diuretics, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, penicillin derivatives, proton pump inhibitors, rifampin, quinolones and sulfonamides. This is a long list, okay, but you have to remember this. If a person is on either of these drugs and has inflammation of the kidney with eosinophils in the urine, it can be a classical case of acute interstitial nephritis. Acute interstitial nephritis can also be caused secondary to some of the systemic infections caused by mycoplasma, or it can be caused due to autoimmune diseases like Sjogren's syndrome, lupus or sarcoidosis. Now, how is acute interstitial nephritis presented? It is usually with fever, rash, hematuria, pyuria and costovertebral angle tenderness. The fever, rash is due to hypersensitivity reaction. Hematuria and pyuria is due to decrease in the renal function. But it is usually asymptomatic. This condition is usually asymptomatic. Now, how do we remember this? It is by the 5 P's. That means the drugs we remember the drugs by 5 P's annotation. And what are the 5 P's? It can be P, that means diuretics. Diuretics mean you P. It can be NSAIDs, that is pain free. We can remember penicillins by P. We can remember proton pump inhibitors, rifampin, and sulfa drugs. That is 5 P's and S. I hope I'm clear. Now let us talk about what is diffuse cortical necrosis and renal papillary necrosis. Okay. Now let me just tell you that these conditions, that is acute tubular nephritis, can further lead to these of any two of these conditions. Okay. Now what is basically diffuse cortical necrosis? It is a generalized cortical infarction in both the kidneys. It is a bilateral disease, and it is usually caused due to vasospasm of DIC or DIC. Okay. It is usually caused in obstetric processes. That means if there is a surgical obstetric process that is going on and there is some kind of complication, it can lead to diffuse cortical necrosis. That is cortical infarction of both the kidneys. This is very less likely to come in exams, but let me just cover it up. Now let's talk about renal papillary necrosis. That is slogging of the necrotic renal papillae. In this we can see the renal papillae has an infarct, and it is presented by hematuria and proteinuria. That means blood and protein content in the urine. It is majorly triggered or caused by recent infections or immune stimulus. Now what are the basic causes or what are the associations of renal papillary necrosis? It can be either due to sickle cell disease or even trait of sickle cell disease. It can be caused due to acute pyelonephritis or analgesic use or diabetic mellitus. Okay. So these are the basic associations of renal papillary necrosis. These two are particularly less important as compared to acute interstitial nephritis and acute tubular necrosis. In last, the acute tubular necrosis, there is brown cast seen in the urine. Okay. This is all about the renal pathology part of acute kidney injury. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please click on the like button and do subscribe to this channel. Let me know in the comment section below which topics do you want me to explain. Thank you.